Hi you guys, it's Karen with Love Your Land. And yes, I change my clothes every day. This is actually, I'm doing 2 videos in one day because I'm trying to be efficient. So I just did that other video on the quar, and now I'm doing this. So another thing that's come up since my last couple of videos is people are seeing, especially when I'm over there where the grow rack is, you can see from the backlight that my pots are only filled about halfway up with soil. And some people have asked me, is your pot only filled halfway with soil? And yes, it is. And that's because, you know, when I transplanted these, they're really small. And so I put them way down in here. You know, they may only come up to about here or here, whatever. And so the soil, bury them up to there, right? But these plants are just going to grow, which is what we have here. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do is show you why I put only fill them halfway, and then what I do. I was going to say why again. Anyway, these are actually the Chadwick cherries, which is cool because these are one of the seeds that I sent you. And so I hope you can see this. The soil lines down here, we have, I don't know what that is, 4 inches to the tops up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be adding more soil to build up along the stem of the plant, because again, the stems are going to grow roots out of them. So, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to bury any stems or leaves, right? I've told you that too. So I'm going to snip off these lower leaves and then add the soil. And I think because this is a little smaller than this one, I think I'm only going to take off the bottom leaves from this one and maybe the bottom and a second one there, and then they'll kind of be even, if that makes sense. So what I'm snipping off here, actually these are the first set of true leaves on this particular little plant. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it as I go. And of course, Haas wants out now. You're just going to have to wait. Let's see, where will the soil line be? Okay, I'm going to snip off this one last one on the smaller one. And now they both fork right at about the same level. So now they're finally going to be roughly the same. Excuse me. I'm going to water this a little first because I didn't before I started shooting this video. And I don't want to have any kind of perched water table. And when you have soils with different consistencies, that can happen, and you end up with a layer of water in between those 2 types of soils, or 2 soil structures. Okay, so and then in this, excuse me, in this bowl, again, I went ahead and mixed up my quar, my sterile soil, and I also added in, to this amount, I added 3 tablespoons of trifecta. I meant to have that little bag over here as a prop, but I forgot. Anyway, so now I'm just going to add some soil to go up to where these plants both fork. And this is why I didn't add the soil before. Again, because I knew they were going to grow with any luck. And I would want to be able to add more soil to help build that root system while I can, because now you see the pot is pretty much full of my planting medium. I'm not going to be able to really add anymore. So I won't be, until they go outside, I won't be doing the magic trick with the stems with the roots, if that makes sense. I just said that twice in one video. Ugh, I hate when I do that. You guys understand, I'm just a person. Anyway, so there you have it. That's why I did what I did. The next thing I want to talk about is the so-called dirty little secret. I wasn't going to tell you guys this because it's not a practice that I'm going to recommend to you. It's just what I do. But enough people kind of clued in. Now I'm going to water this again. Enough people kind of clued in, and I kind of said it real covertly in one of my videos that I will have 2 and 3 plants in a pot. It's what I do. And so people have been asking, well, are you going to leave them in there? Or what are you going to do? And I'm like, ugh. Okay, so it's time to fess up. As I've told you before, I live in northern Colorado. I've told you that 9 million times. And our summers are crazy here. They're fun, and they're beautiful, and they're lovely, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. But they're can be really hard on your plants. These guys have to be pretty sturdy. So what happens is we get, as I've told you, these out of the blue hailstorms. I'm going to let this dog out. Come on, you. Uh-oh, here comes another one. I hope it doesn't knock everything over. Ooh, that was scary. All right, you go. And so what happened was years ago, another YouTuber actually made this recommendation in one of their videos to save space to put 2 or 3 in one pot. I think in that video there was actually 4 seedlings. And so that's what I've always done when I pot them up. But last year, I just left them like that. Not because I was lazy necessarily, but because it was kind of working out. They were flourishing and I was still pruning them, and they weren't, you know, they didn't seem to be root bound. So they weren't showing any signs of stress at all. So I left them like that. When it was time to go plant them out, I was like, I have a theory. My theory was, if I don't try and separate all of these now really mature root systems, for one thing, I'm not going to cause them as much shock as I mean, even just taking this and planting it out is going to cause them to go through some shock. But when you're separating them after they've been in a pot this long, as long as I do it, again, I'm not recommending that you do this. I'm just sharing with you because people have asked me to tell you what I do. So I'm telling you. So my theory was, if I don't take them apart and just plant them as one, just go ahead and plant this, you know, they're going to be, well, this is just 2, but there are some with 3. They won't go through the shock, and they'll be sturdier because they'll hold each other up. And that is exactly what happened. And so I want to break here. I'm going to show you a clip that I remembered this morning, and I searched through like bazillions of videos in my personal Facebook to find it, because I wanted to show you what I have video of it. It's great. This was posted, I posted it on July 11th of 2014. I would imagine that that's when I took the video, and so that means that the storm probably happened the day before. No, I think that day, I think I shot it like right after the storm went away. So whatever, but it was the middle of July when I shot it. So hang on, check this out. It's only a minute, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Checking out the damage from that storm. B, go away. This snapped off. Okay, that sucks. Tomatoes, smashed smithereens. Ugh, look at these branches, snapped clean off. Either that or I cut that. Nope, that snapped right off. All these tomatoes down here. I'll have to figure this out once it dries out a bit. Ooh, there's a hail thing, damage spot, whatever. And then there's this. You can tell. These guys did better because they're bigger. See what I mean? Okay, so if you missed it, you can rewind and watch that little minute segment, but let me explain it real quick. The first, like, 80% of that minute-long video is one bed, and it's the bed where I had mostly singles. I think all singles, like single plants in their own hole when I transplanted them. When I finally get to the very last, like, 2 seconds of the video, and I go to the next bed and I say, these did fine because they're bigger, those are all multiples. So the beds with the multiples, the yields were consistently significantly higher than the ones with singles. And I know it sounds like I'm recommending that you guys do this, and I'm not. I want to tell you what I did, because again, I keep saying that, but people are asking me, and they're excuse me, they're messaging me, and I just wanted to share that with you. So again, I don't recommend that you do this. Okay, what I mean by do this is plant multiples, keep them together, plant them outside together. I don't recommend it. However, if you're interested in the results, you can do an experiment along with me, because I'm going to do an experiment this year, and I'm going to do them side by side this time. Instead of just having one bed with singles and one bed with multiples, the difference being that those beds they run east to west, and usually the storms come from the east, but last summer sometimes they came from the west. So trying to compare them this way is a little bit confusing, because some got more damage than the others, right? Because like these guys are protected from these guys by these guys. So what I'm going to do this year, and again, this is my suggestion if you want to try, if you have the space and you can have some plants that, you know, you might get varying results from, then do this. So if you have east to west beds, let's say, plant a multiple here and a single here so that they're north and south, because probably you're not going to get north and south. Well, I don't know where you live and I don't know where your storms come from, to be honest with you, but whatever's typical for your area, if this is the path for storms, put your tomato plants next to each other north, this way. I shouldn't say north and south, but for me, it's going to be north and south. And then that way, whether it comes from the east or comes from the west, they're going to get the same amount of wind and hail and everything as each other, and we can compare results. I mean, again, I already know that the beds that were singles, I had, and I guess because of the damage, that's probably why, because those guys had to recover more than the big ones did, the multiples. But I had definitely higher yields on the multiples than I did the singles, and that's all I can figure is that that my theory was right, that they supported each other and created more of a shelter for each other. And also, the other thing that right off the bat, people are going to say, oh, they're competing for nutrients, they're competing for space. The roots, once they go out in the beds, they had plenty of space. And I do feed them out there. So there you have it. All I can tell you is that my 99 tomato plants, and by the way, if you ever watch the tour video and I say, I'm going to tell you how I did that, I changed my mind later on and decided I wasn't going to tell you because I think it's too controversial. But then here I am telling you anyway. But my yields last year, during the peak part of the season, I was hauling in 20 pounds a day, 15 to 20. And but anyway, I just want to share that with you. Actually, I didn't want to, but you guys pressured me into it. And I said, if you guys give me backlash, I'm going to tell you this was Trixie's idea. So if you have anything mean to say, no, don't say anything mean to Trixie. Anyway, that's it. So got the Chadwick cherries soiled up and fed. These guys have never been fed before, by the way, and they're sturdy little guys. So that also kind of goes back to the video before this, where I try to stress that little seedlings do not need food until they get a little bigger, and these are green as can be and pretty happy. So that's all. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Okay, one last thing I forgot to mention. The other benefit of doing what I did here with these Chadwick cherries is I could have transplanted these into smaller pots, but instead, like I've shown you, I transplanted them into these large pots, but I planted them really low, as you already know. But the benefit here is that when these plants get big enough and they're above the pot line, like these were, then all I have to do is add my extra soil in there, and they don't have to be transplanted again. So they're already in their forever home here, not forever, but for a while home, without having to be transplanted again. So it's just a little gentler of a practice, and it works out really well for me. So that's it. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.